Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nightmare Collective. Are you ready for a weird, strange movie? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Pop a squat, grab some coffee, tea, whatever beverage you want to do, and let's sink into the pool of infinity pool. So I've titled this video From Vanity to Insanity because that's pretty much what this movie is. You get a lot of vain rich people doing insanity. Not doing insanity, doing insane things. I guess you could do insanity. You know, maybe if it was a drug. Maybe that's the drug. That's the sequel to Judge Dredd. The drug's called Insanity. You know, I'm into that. But anyway, let's get into this movie. So, the premise of this movie. We're not going to belabor too long on the premise of this movie, and we're just going to get right into, like, my thoughts on the movie. So, basically what happens is Alexander Skarsgård's character is a writer, and he has basically got writer's block. He wrote a book 6 years ago. It did very poorly, and he is now trying to find inspiration. He's lucky that he married rich, so he can just basically be bankrolled to do nothing. It must be nice. Anyway, they go to this resort so he can find inspiration. They run across Mia Goth's character, who is basically an obsessive fan who can't believe that she met him and wants to get to know him more. And after that, weird shit happens. So that's your premise. If you think that sounds cool, and if you like Brandon Cronenberg, you like Possessor, I think you're really gonna like this movie. So, let's get into what I like overall about this movie. I like the style of this movie, although I will say in the very beginning, I went with a buddy of mine, and there's very wide swirling camera angles in the beginning of this, and we were both kind of like, whoa. So it sets you off on a path to be very unsettled in the beginning and kind of off kilter when they started. And even when it pans out, it's kind of this crookedness, a little more than a Dutch angle, because the Dutch angle is, kind of sideways. This is a full 180. It's weird, but it sets the scene for what does become a very weird and heightened experience that you're going to experience watching this movie. So that's our premise. And so basically we're more fully than I typically do in these reviews, because I do think that you just can't talk about this movie in a shortened non-spoiler review. So you got my non-spoiler review. Spoilers here, I'll put up a tag here, and we're going to be talking about it. And I'll keep a spoiler warning thing up here so you can know that I am talking about it. If you're just listening to it and you come back and you're like, what the fuck? He's spoiling the movie for me. I've already told you that. Look up here, man. All right, let's get into this. So basically what happens in the very beginning of this movie is that Mia Goth says oh, I'm a huge fan of you, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to get to know you. Let's go to dinner. So they go to dinner. And then after that, they sneak out of the compound. They're not allowed to leave this compound because crazy shit happens and they could be killed and no one can save them. So they go to this remote little beach. They spend the entire day there getting to know each other and all of that. And then on their way back, the one main dude's drunk, Alexander Skarsgård drives, and he ends up killing a farmer's son. The one interesting thing about this country is that if you commit any crime, whether accidental or deliberate, you are sentenced to death. That's kind of drugs, anything. It's death, penalty of death. And you find out why, is that basically it's a very lucrative business to sentence everybody to death. I don't know how there is anybody in the country if everybody's always dying, but we get past that. So you see how this country is being funded. How they got this technology is a little more nebulous, and I really don't know how that works. They kind of just play that off as, hey, you don't need to know, it's just in the world and it works. So basically what happens is the detective comes in, they find him, and they're like, hey, you're gonna die. The penalty for this is death, so you're screwed. But anyway, but we do have another option, option B. Over here, option B is that you can pay us a shit ton of money and we will create a copy of you that can be executed. And you're like, okay, interesting. So now you see where the body horror of Cronenberg comes in. He basically is sentenced not only to have a copy pay the sum of money, but watch himself be murdered. And so the way it works is that if there's ever a murder, is that the eldest son in the family is able to commit that said execution. So he watches himself be murdered. Now he's with his wife here, who is the bankroller of the family, and she's crying, she's very distraught, but Alexander's character is just very stoic. You can tell this event is what changes him physically and metaphysically in his mind. He's into it. It's a very Hellraiser Cronenberg thing to watch the body horror and then be into said body horror. And so that's what happens here. He's like, oh shit, this is amazing. I watched myself die. It's this weird thing. But anyway, one of the first questions that is raised after this, we cut forward a little bit. that I think is interesting, and I wish the whole movie was about this said topic, a little more maybe, not the whole movie, but a little more depth into this, is that one of the doctors who is in this group of like insane people that comes here every year, and basically, you know, we'll get into what they do, but he asks, how do you know what version you are? Are you the original or are you the copy? How do you know you are you? Because it is a one-to-one copy with all your memories and emotions and everything. How do you know that you are you? Very interesting. That's what I'm into. That's the weird shit that I want. I want this like existential question of like, am I me? I made a copy, you know? And so even though we keep making these copies, am I the original one, or did they actually execute the original me and now I am the copy? So that's my problem really with Brandon, is that he throws out these big things that are super interesting, but we never do anything with them. And so that's fine. That's a vibe. I get it. But sometimes I just want a little bit more from him. And David is typically a little bit better. Cronenberg's dad is a little bit better at like diving into some of these things. He leaves things, yes, a little nebulous, but even like Crimes of the Future, you very much knew kind of what was going on. It's still a weird movie, but you kind of got overall what they were doing. And so this kind of sets up a lot of stuff where you're like, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, oh, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it for 30 seconds. It reminds me of Old, actually, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, where at the very end, spoilers for that movie, you find out that there's this pharmaceutical company that's running all this shit. You're like, you're going to tell me in the last 5 minutes that something cool is happening in this movie? Well, fuck you. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so that's kind of where you find out. The biggest reveal in this movie is that you find out that this group of people and Mia Goth, who is incredible in this movie, so is Alexander Skarsgård, they're both incredible in this movie, that she is fucking with him. And that they all are. And they basically do this to a person every year because they have nothing better to do. And they basically just keep getting themselves murdered and watching themselves die because they're insane people. And that is where, you know, you get into the weirdness where they're like into like all these like spiritualistic things and drugs and like, we are being reborn. So they're trying to get him to be reborn, you know. Some weird stuff in this movie towards the end. You know, I read about one thing and I was like, that can't be in the movie. And it is in the movie and it's very weird. And I was like, all right, that's a way to end a movie. And I don't think I'm going to sleep. And I'll be honest, last night, this like riddled my brain. You know, sometimes I will hyper focus on things and this riddled my brain. I was like, what if I'm not me? What if I am not me? What if I am a copy? How do I know I'm the copy? Do you know you're not a copy? What if the government has like manufactured me to do this right now? What if I'm being programmed to do this exact thing right now? It's all part of the bigger universal picture. It's the Matrix, you know, man. That's what I'm talking about. You're probably like, this dude's on drugs. Anyway, overall, I really liked the movie. I thought some of it didn't like get fully explained, but overall, I thought it was a good time. It's a weird movie. I like when I go see weird movies and they do pay off. Like I said, I'll probably never watch this again because I don't think I missed anything. I feel like it's a movie that you basically can follow. The plot is very easy to like handle mentally and you're like, I got it. I get it. So I don't think I missed anything. It's just kind of one of those movies that makes you think, and I will continue thinking about this movie, and that is always a good thing. I am always down for a movie that makes me think afterward, long afterward. It's been an entire day since I saw the movie because I really wanted it to seep in before I did my review. Overall, I really like the movie. Let me know down below. Are you going to be seeing this movie? Did you like Possessor? Did you like Possessor? Do you like these weird movies? All that down below. Are you going to be seeing this movie? Or are you going to be waiting till it hits a streaming service? And that's pretty much all I got, guys. Thanks for watching this. I know it's a little longer than my typical reviews, but I just felt that I had to kind of discuss this movie more fully than I typically do because otherwise this video would be like 3 minutes long and I'd be like, hey, go watch the movie, you decide. But I thought I wanted to do a little bit more than that. All right, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for joining me for this review. A lot of exciting things coming. Next week, I'll link my announcement trailer for my A24 horror journey, which will start next Wednesday with The Witch. I'm super excited about that. We'll be discussing The Witch. I'm super excited. I'm going to be covering all the movies across this entire year, so strap in, subscribe if you want to see all of that. Other than that, I'll link some videos for you. I just did a freaky 4K review if you like physical media. That's gonna be up first, you know. You'll see in the video. Do that, and like I said, I'll link my announcement trailer for my A24 journey. That's all I've got, and I'll talk to you guys later.